All right. Well, thanks for coming today. My name is Laura Mitchell, and I'm the VP of Business Development for GrandCare Systems. And it's great to be speaking with Sherry. We have a long history together. We were in the Eschaton Demonstration House back in 2008, right? Yeah. So GrandCare has been around since 2005. So in the aging technology industry, that's sort of like dog years, right? We're kind of like the old grandpa. And we've been innovating ever since. And our vision, actually, we kind of have a little bit of an exciting news to share. Right prior to this conference, we just brought on a new CEO, which is Dan Maynard. And GrandCare is an appliance, if you think of it that way, that we place into a private home or into a facility that helps individuals age in place better and provides the caregivers with technology tools to provide better and more efficient and cost-effective care. So the touchscreen appliance is the center of the system, and it collects all the information from the various sensors. And the caregivers can log into our online portal and be able to access that information. So, be able to check if someone got out of bed, if they access meds, what's their biometric readings, what are their vitals, set up parameters or checkpoints, if you will, to determine, if a rule set is met. So if someone gets out of bed during the night and doesn't return within 45 minutes, call me. If room 203 gets out of bed, instead of randomly checking in on him if he's a fall risk, I can actually just set it up to only call me if he does get out of bed. So it's designed to enable caregivers to provide more efficient care. But it's also designed to self-enable folks to live independently. A lot of people want to stay more independent, and they want to use technology to do so. And in fact, we have a client right now in Florida who has early stage Alzheimer's, and he's a big advocate for Alzheimer's awareness. His name is Dr. Sandy Halperin, and a lot of people that I talk to actually know him because he is a LinkedIn maniac. I mean, he found me on LinkedIn. He probably found all of you on LinkedIn. I probably found you on LinkedIn. I like LinkedIn. But he kind of is on the early stage advisory committee for Alzheimer's Association and contacted us and said, could this product be sort of my second brain? And so we went and installed it, and we've been designing a memory boosting tool around some of his feedback, which has been really critical for us about as far as what he needs to see from the system, as well as some other clients with memory loss issues. And he and the system will be featured by Sanjay Gupta's team on CNN in January or February. So it's kind of an interesting side story that has taken us to that level of memory boosting, whereas the founder's vision in the early day was sort of to help enable folks to stay independent at home. We never realized quite where that was going to take us, but we're helping Sandy to enable himself, which is exactly what he wants. He doesn't want to have to provide a caregiving tool for caregivers necessarily, but he wants to enable himself to live independently. So we're helping him to do that. The back end looks a little like this, so when they log in, they can access information about the resident. They can access, as well as send some communications to the resident, so push information, medication prompts, community calendaring features, all that kind of stuff, and of course, socialization. So why are we partnering with professional caregivers? Well, the way that we see it is that professional caregivers are sort of like the personal trainer of the system. So, we're like the treadmill. We work really well if you know how to use us. But a lot of times people are either not motivated to do it, they don't know, they're not professional caregivers. So you think about it, and some 80-year-old woman is being thrown into taking care of her 85-year-old husband. She's never been a professional caregiver, and all of a sudden she's got to know this and that. She's got to switch his, do wound care treatment, or she's got to give him 18 different medications and things like that. So we help to provide a platform that can enable someone to provide better care, but we think the best partner is the professional caregiver who actually knows the information and can use the information that we provide. We provide a lot of raw data, but if someone doesn't know, what does it mean when John Doe gained 5 pounds in 2 days? That's bad. So we like it when professional caregivers partner with us so that they can actually provide better and more efficient care. So we're looking for professional caregivers, as in long-term care providers, but in-home care providers especially have been an excellent partner for us. They use the system to, and I'm going to let Daphne speak more on this, but they use the system to provide directions and support for their clients. So they use it from the private home to independent living to assisted living, and Daphne's going to tell you a little bit how they've used the GrandCare system for hospice and palliative care for end-of-life communications. And, of course, encouragement and follow-through. So without much further ado, I want to pass it on to Daphne because I want her to share some of her experiences.
Hello, how's everybody? Everybody says, is it KnuteNelson? No, it's KnuteNelson. He was the governor of Minnesota. Our organization was founded by him in 1948, and we provide a continuum of care services across 25 counties. However, we're small. We're a very small organization. Laura and Dan thought it'd be great if I just came and shared what we're doing with GrandCare and our home care and hospice teams. My organization is very technology forward thinking. They sent me here and they said, we want you to dream big. So I got cards from 10,000 people, and I'm very interested in the technologies that everyone brought here today. This is a whole range of services that we offer. However, we're offering technology to people who don't live in our facilities. So I have a new client that I'm going to be doing an install for that is independent in the home. The son lives in California and he wants to be in contact with mom. She's going to get a GrandCare unit in her home in northern Minnesota, but then she's also going to be taking the unit here when she comes to California for 6 weeks to visit him. So we're actually going to be receiving private pay services for a client who doesn't even live in our service area. Our technology offerings, these are our three that we're focused on right now. GrandCare Systems, of course, is our amazing technology, helping us with ADLs in both hospice and home care divisions. Those look completely different depending on the purpose, so we're going to talk about those later. We have a PERS unit. We prefer not to do the PERS ourselves, and so we have a unit that has voice-to-voice and a calling tree. And we have a medication dispenser. It's a lock dispenser that provides sounding alerts where it says, time to take your meds. When they turn it over, it resets. And it's nice because it's locked, so if people are having problems taking too much medications or abuse with pain medications, they're not able to access that without the system opening up. And we use all these in conjunction with the GrandCare. Our company is opting because of competitive advantage. I get referrals a lot based on one of those three technologies. So people will call and they'll say, why should we choose you? And I say, well, here, let's go on the website, and we'll be on a phone conference, and they'll look at our technology offerings, and they'll say, wow, you guys have something no one else has. We're going to go with you. Often it's just private pay services where they want the med dispenser, and that's the only thing they want. But then we use that as the way to build a relationship, monthly, calling in, seeing how it's going, and then when they have an adverse event or decline in function, they're able to then partner with us for other needs. Depending on where they live, we're able to provide services in a lot of different unique ways. In our home care side, we're remotely assessing clients. We serve 25 counties, and like my physical therapist put on upwards of, I think the last one I talked to last week, he had 1,600 miles in the 2-week pay period. I generally run in the 700, and every time we're not driving out for the visit, not only are you not paying for the skilled nurse fee, which is, less, it's less for 1 month of GrandCare than it is to have a nurse come one time. And we're using this also to avoid readmissions by an early recognition of adverse symptoms in the course of their care. And again, we talked about conserving resources. We're a nonprofit. It's a huge benefit to us to be able to make a phone call instead of an actual visit to a person. I talked about the earlier relationships with the clients. We're able to build those relationships around technology that then transfer into our other range of services that we have to offer. In addition, we're able to recognize if we're out there doing something with the technology and I see that the client is not getting around as well as he had been, I think, hey, do we need to have a outpatient physical therapy? Do we need a referral to our inpatient physical therapy? And I'm able to assess that as our staff when they're out in the home dealing with technologies. We all want everybody to stay home for longer. We want them to be in their home for as long as they safely can be. And families are recognizing the benefits of the technology in order to keep them at home. It's a huge cost savings to families, and it makes families, especially remote families, feel very much more connected with their loved one. You know, if you're the grandkid who lives in California and you're not a part of grandma's care, but all of a sudden now you can send her a message, you can Skype with her. Grandma loves it, but you feel like you're more part of her process and her care. In addition, you're recognizing early onset of symptoms. Maybe I'm not in the home, but the family member is saying, you know, grandma's messages seem just really confused lately, and she's just not triggering her sensors in the same way she had previously been. And then they'll give us a call and we'll look into it. You know, do we need to get a doctor's visit? Do we need to have an additional nurse visit in this episode? Quality of life and satisfaction. There is a little timidness depending on the clients when they first get the units. Typically I use their interests to guide my programming of the unit. And so, as you know, I have one lady who she loves to make little cards, and so I put a Pinterest card link on it, and when I brought it in the house, she said she wasn't going to use it, but when I put the content on there that she finds interesting, she uses it. And then she's like, oh, I guess I can start checking my blood sugars with this unit based on what my interests are, where previously, when I took it out of the box, she's like, I don't do computers. And she's got a level of satisfaction and achievement with that too. She's able to say, I have a technology in my house where I'm able to remotely contact my family and friends in a way that I had not previously. Lower cost can everyone, especially from our perspective. I mean, if you just take it down to one nurse visit as opposed to 1 month of service, it's cheaper for a month of service than it is a nurse visit. Counties are recognizing that it's important to have remote vital signs monitoring from a cost savings perspective, and so they're reimbursing for telemonitor fees for our GrandCare. We're working with the state right now. We have a managed Medicare, Medicaid company that we're working with, and they've really expressed an interest in reimbursements. They're just working out the codes right now. I'm installing for that company's clients with the thought that I'm going to get reimbursed back to install date. And I really don't see that that's going to be a problem. It's just a matter of it working through the system of legislation and the state. And rural areas, you know, everyone, especially in Minnesota, we're all spread out. Nobody lives, you know, when I grew up, I lived in a 2-mile block with all my aunts and uncles and my grandmother, and we all got together and we had, you know, cards and coffee. And technology enables you to have that family close unit in a way that you couldn't without the technology, because nobody lives on the same street anymore. As far as a rehospitalization reduction goes, it's super, you know, providers are all going to get dinged if they have avoidable admissions or readmissions, especially 30 days after discharge from the hospital. And who are they going to choose for home care agency except the agency that has the lowest rehospital admission? And how are we going to do that? In our home care side, we're using the units to alert us to changes in vital signs. I have one guy who he's got every peripheral that we have, and his blood sugars are out of range all the time, his O2 sats, his weights. He's often not able to himself recognize when he's having a decline in symptoms. We're going in there every day, we're looking at it, we're calling, you know, maybe a phone reassessment. Did you have the O2 sats monitor on correctly? How are you feeling? How are you breathing? And then I'm able to go, because I'm a home care nurse as well, out to the house and do an assessment and say, you know what, you're going to go to the clinic today. It's Thursday. And then instead of Saturday, where he's going to the emergency room, we've just avoided that whole extra expense. He's COPD, CHF, and diabetes. For CHF, they are the leading cause of hospitalizations worldwide greater than 65 years old. So right there, if you're just using a technology for that one population, you're addressing one rehospitalization, huge chunk. Average heart failure admission is $7,174 to $10,000 for one admission, and then high as 50% are readmitted within 6 months. So if you're able to catch any single thing and keep them out of the emergency room, keep them out of an ICU admission, how much money are you saving system-wide, worldwide? In addition, the clients don't want to be at the hospital. I'll go out to the house and I'll say, I know that you don't want to go to clinic today, and he's mad, and I'm waiting because if I leave, the wife can't get him in the car. And so I'm like, no, you go in, I made the appointment. I said, I just need to keep you out of the hospital because I know you hate it. And he was like, yes, thank you for your help. Not very happy to go for an unscheduled visit, but an unscheduled visit on a Thursday is way better than an ER visit on a Sunday. And it's helping us alert providers. I'm working really closely with a clinic, and we're developing a partnership with this same dual eligible group to try and figure out how we can partner with the clinic staff in order to monitor vital signs, because it's not always the case that they're going to be on a home care episode. And so if they have a hospitalization and then they come to us for a 60-day episode, they get discharged, what do we do in that time period to keep our thumb on what they're doing, and how can we partner with providers and caregivers at the clinic level to make sure that we're watching out to make sure, there's no changes in their vitals, there's no changes in their weights over the course of time. And that's going to result in better caregiving all around. If we have partnerships with a clinic and we're all working on the same team, the clients notice that. I had a client I called yesterday. I was the day before yesterday, I was at the airport, and I got a message that said his assessment data that gets pushed out to me said he was dizzy. So that's not normal for him. I know that. I called him and I said, "Are you dizzy?" And he said, "Well, I've been feeling sick kind of lately," and we had a huge discussion. It didn't result in me taking any sort of medical action. I didn't send him to the clinic. I didn't send him to the doctor. All his other vital signs were great, but he loved that I called. He loved that I checked in on him, and for my peace of mind, I knew that his symptoms were not of a level that he needed further intervention. It's easy for them. My standard with the GrandCare system is if you can run a remote control, you can run this unit. And again, with the right content driven, they have an interest in working with the unit, and then you can kind of ramp up what things you're asking them to do in the unit based on their capacity for change, and completely cost effective. We talked a little bit about return on investment as far as avoidable readmissions and conserving of resources in your facility. Something unique that we've done, we have a very active foundation, and so we've sought to implement via grants. For the home care side, we're using a CSSD grant that's basically purchased all the equipment that we're using, and then we're installing for clients. So we're able to give anyone in and out of system a month free regardless, just to try it out. My facility is very lenient in my use of time, so they can send me to have 1 month, and somebody that will know will never pay for it, but we like to get the feedback of how the system is working for them, if they're liking it, building some partnerships with their providers in the month that they have the service. So even if it was a free service for a month and we're not making money, we're able to see that they're having better relationships with their providers and with us. And then Blanding Foundation has given us a $50,000 grant for hospice and palliative care. We've kind of described the home care units where it's vital signs monitoring, medication reminders, that kind of thing. For the Blanding Foundation grant, we're using those in hospice, and so every one of our hospice clients gets a GrandCare if they want it and if we feel that it's applicable to them. It's interesting because we have a very forward-thinking staff of nurses too, so I'll get referrals from our hospice nurses. We have a lady who has anxiety, but she does not speak and she does not see. And the nurse said, "I think she could benefit from GrandCare." And first of all, how would you think that somebody in that situation could benefit for GrandCare? But she has nonverbal cues, and they know she has anxiety. We don't always want to address that with a medication, and so instead, let's address that with some audio content. And so her unit has all audio content on the main screen. We're a faith-based organization, and so we do streaming Bibles, streaming hymns, whatever she will find relaxing and peaceful. And then we have her daughter watching for nonverbal cues. Is this set of buttons helping? Is this set of buttons helping? And then we're going to tweak the content based on her response. It'll stream all the time if we want it to. As in addition, she's a Q2-hour turn at the care center that she lives at, and so we're actually implementing staff is to push a button when they turn her Q2 hours and change the content. And then, daughter said she doesn't like to have music or anything on at night, so it shuts off at 10 p.m. and nobody can push a button, and that's her family's preference. We have a couple of they wanted a couple case studies, just talking about how we're using it. I've shared some. We have a hospice client that just passed away last week, and the family was just so appreciative that in the month before her death, the remote family was able to Skype with her. Some of that remote family was actually present at the time of death and were there, but think about how much more enriching that last few conversations was when you had a month of conversations via Skype. This particular install was difficult because we run into connectivity issues in rural Minnesota. I'm working with some telecoms to try and create affordable packages for this, because there's a lot of people that they want to get the unit, and then the family calls me and says, absolutely, we're on board. And when we really talked with the company, the family said, well, the company says that she needs 12 months of service agreement and 100 to take it down and 100 to put the new package up. And I'm working on building relationships with the smaller telecoms to try and get that to be affordable. I finally got to the top of that particular telecom, and he said, absolutely, we'll help you out. They went and installed that day for $30 a month. And then at the time of her death, they pulled all the equipment out, everything went fine. And so we're having to try and find some unique ways to get this service to people that want it. But if I hadn't made all those connections and those steps in order to place that in her home, she wouldn't have had that last month of Skyping with her family members.